All right, everyone, we are live. Dynasty Mirror Search for Huru. And we have the good brother Amin Ra with us all the way from Mombasa, Kenya. And I deal with this subject often, but for some reason, people, and I did a video on this, people are still, especially black people, our people, are still using 1980s stereotypes to justify not going to Africa or considering relocating to Africa in 2018. And so I'm in Raw. We'll say, how long have you been in Mombasa now, Grandmaster?
21 years.
21 years. So in the late 90s, Amir Ra decided to relocate to Mombasa, Kenya. You know,
Okay. I decided in 1986. It took
okay.
me 10 years. Yeah, okay.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I had to set the record straight on that. So in the late 90s, Amir Ra relocated physically, permanently to Mombasa and has not looked back. And this is a time before the internet. Well, the internet was somewhat around, but it's not what it's like now. You know, this is before the
Okay.
internet. Go ahead.
I was gonna say when I came, there was only two locations where internet was active in Nairobi, and one of the places was the Hilton Hotel, and they charged 500 shillings. I think that's like $50 for 30 minutes to
Oh
use it.
God.
Mm.
Right, but you didn't have. I mean, to really research into detail about Africa, it was harder back then than it is now without the internet. So now you have the internet and you have access to pretty much everything, but people are still leveraging stereotypes from the 80s, whether it be little kids running around barefooted with AK-47s, everybody has AIDS, there's lions and tigers running around downtown, well, lions and rhinos or whatnot running around downtown Nairobi. And these are educated people. You know, Africa's not safe. And these are educated people who are still using, leveraging our people, educated black people now, who are still leveraging uh, these excuses. If I don't get 100 vaccines before I go, I might die. You know, I mean, what are your thoughts on this, Amira? And now, Amira, let me step back a second. Now you have I'm not African. I'm a Hebrew Israelite. I'm a Moor, which is fine because we don't want you over there anyway. So you could be a Moor and Hebrew Israelite and indigenous to America. That's fine. We don't need you in Africa. That's fine. By all means. So you have all this now. What are your thoughts on this? What's going on in 2018?
I just think it's a response, almost like a panic response from the Western media and government uh, to try to curb what is going to be something that's almost inevitable, and that's the fact that black people will start leaving the United States. Already, there are reports about 1 in 3 white Americans are leaving the United States. And definitely, there are reports that whites are leaving. Many whites are leaving the United States, which became apparent during the time when Trump was running for elections. I mean, when Trump became president, people started looking into articles and they came to realize that a lot of whites who had already started leaving the country, and black people, it's the same. And whites can leave the country. It doesn't seem to affect America so much, or the government so much. But like I said before, black people leaving the country in mass is affects a lot of people because we have a big amount of economy that I mean contribute to the economy, and this is something that would destabilize the United States because we are also like our contribution, our actual contribution, not only in the past but also even today. Black people contribute greatly. I see it in the books, especially during Black History Month, about how many inventions we have made, and you can imagine that we have made and gotten credit for. There is probably two more inventions that we created and didn't get recognition for.
True.
True. So, like in the movie, there was a movie out a while back with that sister from that TV show. I like. I forgot her name. I don't know her name, but Dynasty. Is it Dynasty? No, not Dynasty. Uh, anyway, yeah. So she made that movie where she was this black woman and she was working for NASA and the space in the space during the time for the spaceships.
Oh, you're talking
And
about
oh, you're
I
talking
know
about I know
it's echoing in the back.
it's echoing.
Did you turn the sound off?
Yeah. How about now?
Okay, that's better. Go ahead.
I
Yeah, but
took it off.
it's called what's the name of that movie? Go ahead. I'm gonna look it up right now.
Yeah, exactly. This is something that happens to us, and I have to confess, I knew nothing about her
Hidden
contribution.
Figures. The movie's called Hidden Figures. But go ahead.
So I didn't know anything about that. I don't feel like I should blame myself for not knowing, but I was not educated to know. And there's a great many things. I talked about Glenn Beck, who came out with that story on presidents and black people's contribution to government, and we're just not told these things. And I believe firmly, any black person that considers themselves black delve into the history, the actual history, they come to the same conclusions that these black people are making when they're saying, "Look, America is never going to give us a chance." Their interests are not parallel to the government's interests are not parallel to black people's interests. And when you do the research, it's just very clear. Very.
All right, cool. Let's talk about this real quick. Africa isn't safe. Now we've had a mass shooting where 17 people were killed at a high school in Florida. Another shooting last week where 2 people were killed at a high school in Maryland. Then I don't know if you've been keeping up with the bomber in Austin, Texas, who was setting off bombs in Austin, Texas. So, but they want to tell you that Africa is not safe. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, well, this is ridiculous. And I won't even go into quoting the statistics because I think we've all heard of them already. As you know, the Washington Post 3 years ago decided to keep account of how many murders there were in the United States. And I was at the Washington Post website, which is there. It was at 287 people had been murdered by the police this year in 2018. And I did some research, and I was reading an article where somebody else had done some research and said that out of the 287 people that have been murdered by the police, 230 of them were black people. So I just threw up my hands. I'm like, man, even if that is like half of that, that's really horrible. You only make up 13% of the population if you believe that statistic. And then, we're like, what? 1/3, I mean, 3/4 of the murders. It's unsafe in America, definitely. And it's even more unsafe for us as black people. And this is one of the main reasons why we should be the first ones out looking for a safer place to live, as opposed to some whites who are leaving. And I'm seeing on the news now that the people about this. They're doing these rallies in all the major cities, protesting all kind of things that's dealing with gun violence. And I was touched to see Paul McCartney there talking about, he had a friend who was shot by police, and he was talking about John Lennon, and John Lennon was like the Michael Jackson of those days, and part of the Beatles phenomenon. And it was just a horrible thing. Imagine Michael Jackson get gunned down in front of his home. It'd be terrible.
Right.
But that actually happened in the United States. So uh, as far as Africa is concerned, in Kenya they go the way of Britain. As you know, Britain has very strict gun laws. They don't allow people to get carry guns. And the Beatles were a four-man group, and John Lennon decided to live in New York, and he was murdered. And George Harrison decided to stay in London, and the attacker tried to murder him, but he didn't have a gun. He had a knife, and he was able to stab George, but he wasn't able to kill him. The wife hit the man with a lamppost. So the talk is now if Britain had the same type of gun laws as the United States, that man George Harrison would have been dead then. And it's the same thing. So Kenya goes by the same basic laws of as Britain with there are no guns. So here in Kenya and in most African countries I know of, the people are not allowed to have any type of gun. So it's like, that's not even a thought in people's mind. I mean, people might come up and say something like, now a person that has a gun can really run wild in the streets, but you don't see that. And the mentality is different here than it is in the United States, and where more people die. I think it was 4,000 people murdered regularly. I don't want to control statistics because when I tried to do the research, they were all over the place. But I did happen to look at a documentary from 1981.
Mm-hmm.
It was called "Killing America," and I was there at that time, and I remember all those stories. And they had all of these stories where this white lady sat out in front of her house. She was given a gun for her 16th birthday, and she decided to take the gun, stick it out her bedroom window, and shoot the kids going to the primary school.
Mm-hmm.
So these kids were walking by her house, and she's just murdering them, So the janitor came out and tried to pick up some of the kids that were wounded, and she murdered him. The principal of the school came out, tried to help the kids.
Hold on, where is this at?
It's in the United States.
I know, but do you know where? Like what?
Oh, well, I can't remember exactly. It's on the Killing America. It's a documentary. You can get it on YouTube. And it's like, they're telling I don't know, 10, 15 of these type of stories. That's why I didn't bother. I can't really remember what state it was. But it was a well-known story. Even I remember it, when they started talking about it, I can remember it when she was killing these kids, 4 and 5-year-old kids walking down the street. So it is not so much of the guns as don't kill people. It's people that kill people. But it's the mentality, you see? And it's the mentality. This is why I don't like to quote the statistic. It's the mentality you live in. You got this mentality that if you walk down the street and you step on somebody's shoes, it's going to cross your mind that person might have a gun, or somebody might shoot you if you walk down a certain neighborhood. This is in you. Yeah? And we don't understand it. We don't understand that unless we go outside of the country. I'm telling you, I am still today affected by the way I used to live in the United States. I cannot walk down the street here in Kenya and somebody walk up under me, And Kenya, they don't, Africans, they don't care. They walk around, they can walk right into you. It's like, no big deal. But for me, when somebody starts walking towards me and they get towards my zone, I don't know, even you, I'm sure, you wondering. Your mind picks up on them really quickly. And time after time, I go through this. And like I said, I was with this brother the other day who came here from, where was he from? Can't remember his state, but yeah, he came here and we spent a lot of time together. We talked about, America and everything like that. And then we were walking somewhere and he just straight out said, man, I hate when people walk up on me. And I was like, me too. Yeah, so it was a funny thing, we are conditioned in the United States to, feel, to feel threatened. And if you go outside the United States, people don't have that fear, and you can kind of relax, and you can live a much more peaceful and peace of mind life when you don't have the threat of gun, especially any kind of violence and gun violence. Like here, when I came to Kenya, I was waiting to see some people fighting, and then I'm on the matatu, and these guys are arguing outside. As I saw this story before, and they were ready to go to blows, and I'm waiting. I've got the popcorn out, good show, right, and I'm right there, and these guys started laughing and started clapping hands because they knew they were just joking with each other. And from that way, if you ask me today, I'll tell you, if you see two Kenyans arguing like they're gonna fight, trust me. They're never gonna fight. They don't. It's not in their mentality. They might argue and play like they're gonna fight, or even play fight.
I'll say this. I saw there were Sudanese. I was in Nairobi. This is probably back in 2014, maybe. There were some Sudanese refugees in downtown Nairobi, and they got into a fight. It wasn't a serious fight, but there were definitely some punches thrown.
And now I'm saying this is very rare. It's very rare to. Now I've been in Nairobi too, and I have seen actual mob justice where the people beat this guy up. The guy fell to his knees, and boy, when he fell down to his knees, they took no mercy. And but I didn't say that they gang fought him, but each person came up to him, and one kicked him, then another one punched him, and another one threw something at him, But it wasn't like a rat pack. But I'm saying there can be the propensity for violence in any people. What I didn't understand when I saw that incident was that the people in town, especially in Nairobi town, there are people that pickpocket them, or they had an experience with somebody stealing from them, and then they take it out.
Oh, they don't play that shit over there. No.
Yeah. So nothing like somebody will come out and executing, pow, 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 nothing like that. People threw blows, but not no deadly blows. They threw blows like you would do with your friend if you want to try to kill him. You know what I'm saying? So, and also I teach martial arts here, so I've had hundreds and hundreds of students, and that type of violence is just not in the African as it is in our people. And in Americans in general. Americans in general, because it's a war type country, they teach that you can't go to the toy store without seeing guns. You can't get most videos. Producers would go out of business if they couldn't make videos that didn't have guns. The number one video in the country is what's it called? Defensive War, Survival War.
I mean, all the video games. I don't play video games anymore, but pretty much all the popular video game role-playing video games have guns. I don't Halo and all of them. So yeah.
And these type of things, people have to see this. It really affects you. It affects your children too. And you might think of it as a pastime, but that thing affects the brain. How many times I could be walking down the street and I just feel like I put my hands together and like pow, 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 pow. And I'm a 60-year-old man. And I'm still thinking like shoot, shoot, bang, bang.
Hey, real quick, Amenkrahh. Somebody in the chat room, I'm not sure where he's from. He says, I remember when I came to America, how shocked I was to find the most ignorant people in the world here. They feed on the media presentation more than using the advancement of their technology to research things. We were just talking about that. They'll depend on the media, the same media they claim lies or stereotypes Black Americans, but then they believe all the stereotypes that this media presents on Africa. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, we are very heavily dependent on the media, and that's it's a fact. And it's so easy for us to take something from the media and just use it and believe it. You know, it's like if we're new, want a juicy story, and somebody give us some juicy information, but we don't
Research it.
we don't research it because we just want to go out and get the reaction from people when we tell them that, tell them that news. And unfortunately, it's a dangerous thing to do when you're talking about Black people in our history, you know. So and then Black people, and then the connection that we have with the motherland. It's it's in fact it is one of the most detrimental things, even in African governments. And also, it's not so much what they don't tell us. I mean, what they tell us. It's not so much the lies they tell us. It's also what they don't tell us. So, a lot of those haters of Africa, I think they should be aware that 44 African nations just signed a trade agreement
Right.
that they were going to transport goods across borders. Now, if all the negative things you hear about the African people are saying about African governments, 44 countries signed this pact to do free trade. It'll be the largest trade section in the world if they follow through with it. European Union did that, and it took them 2 decades to get it to even start working. And the African believe that they can do it in less than half that time. And this is what's going to happen. Africa is going to be a powerful bloc, and they signed this agreement. That means that they had to make this agreement. That means they had to be in the mindset that we're going to work together in a common goal. And left alone, African nations will go back to being the superior ones that they were before the Europeans came in and invaded. And that brings me to another lie that I want to address that I've been hearing, so much about. And it's this bullshit lie about Africans were selling Africans into slavery.
Okay, before we go there, let me ask you a question. So, as far as the violence in America, many people will say, well, Black Americans make up 13% of the population here in America, but commit like 52% of the murders or something like that. What would be your thoughts on that assessment?
See, we can't even. The problem is all these statistics people are coming up with, and they never tell you where they get them from. And the media went to court and said that they found out that they can lie. So I don't know why I'm seeing death on my screen. So media says that you can lie. This is the Supreme Court said, oh, the media can lie to you. So you see, can you trust it? As we were just saying. And so I wouldn't want to go into that and discuss about what the media is doing, and how the media is going to, how we're going to use the media to follow through with an argument, or base an argument on something that's dealing with the Western media. That's not right.
Okay, go ahead.
So I was going to say, I was going to talk about this thing of one of the lies they were saying that Africans were selling Africans into slavery.
Okay.
And this is one of the basis lies that work on our mentality. And some of our weak-minded Negroes out there are using that to say, well, you see, I'm gonna stay in America because my ancestors sold me into slavery. And the best way to address that is to use common sense.
Go ahead.
Most lies really can't stand up to common sense, and especially when you do your research. You just have to think it through. Okay, I know it's hard for some people, but the fact of the matter is, let's go back to a slave ship of white people land on the West African continent. The African people come out to greet them. just like the Indians in America. They're warm. They have hospitality. They treated them well, and uh, then the white man starts stealing the Africans and put them on the ship and taking them. So he comes to a land and he sees a king, and the king says, "Oh, you can have my people to put on your ship. Maybe you can give me some what? What did the ship guys have to trade to then? They said the Africans sold the Africans into slavery. Can we think about that statement? Surely, an African is in his country. A ship comes. They start taking Africans and put them on the ship. How can that man know what's going to happen to them? There was no social media back then. You see him going on the ship. The white man can tell them anything. He can say, we're going to take them to a faraway land and they're going to be better off and they're going to come back. He could tell them that, but then they never come back. So it's no African that gets on a ship and goes and investigates with the Mzungu and then gets there and then can come back and tell the story that, oh, they're treating our people badly. No, you think there's some African king gonna walk around the United States up in Mississippi there, those areas, looking around the different plantations and then say, oh, let me go back and report to. Africans didn't know what was going on after those ships left. And many Africans was happy to get on board the ship because Africans love traveling and the curiosity probably got the best of them. Who can't tell me that the white man is above telling that African slave, just get on board. It's okay. Just look around. Yes, you can just come off anytime and go back to your village. And when they get in there, knock them in the head and put them in chains. Who said they can't do that?
Right, but let me ask you this, though, so do you think African, we'll say tribes, you're saying that they weren't complicit at all in regards to helping Europeans round up other Africans and selling them? Let's forget we don't know where they were going. But do you think African?
When you talk about it out now, you start to see the ridiculousness of it. So who got money? I mean, what Africans? What kind of currency did they have that would force an African king or prince or whatever to sell people into the ship to the white man? That doesn't make no sense. I'm telling you, Africans was happy to get on board. They were either lied to and told that there was going to be something reward or some greatness was going to happen to them if they got on the ship, and Africans just started lining up getting on the ship. This thing of Africans were selling Africans is nonsense. It's impossible. There's no way an African leader that knew what was going on in the slave plantations and then turn around and still sell his people off into those ships. That's nonsense. You get what I'm saying? So let's not act like the African that was selling his people, if that was the case, had full knowledge of what was really happening to the people he was putting on those ships.
Right, but we can't admit, and I have to play devil's advocate because I mean it's been documented. They might not have known what was happening after they were put on the ships, but there were definitely tribes or Africans who sold out and were helping Europeans capture other Africans.
For what? You know what I'm saying? For what? I'm telling you that the African was ignorant in his complicity in that situation. He knew not what was happening to those people, and if he did, he would have never agreed to it. Who would agree? Who could go to the South and see what the people were being suffered? Go see a field full of Africans sitting in there being enslaved on the land, come back to Africa and say, okay, here's some more people for you. It's not going to happen. So don't come up and tell me, it's like you're tricking the sentence. You're trying to make it seem like the Africans sold people into slavery. He didn't sell people into that kind of slavery. He didn't know what was going on the other side of the planet. And are you going to tell me that the white man is going to tell him? If the white man knew, was able to tell the African and make him understand what he was doing to the people, would they not kill him right there or imprison him? Of course. So That's big nonsense, and it's just another trick on words. It's almost like a lie, but a trick lie. You know what I'm saying? If you just gotta feel back in the mentality of that time, how in the hell can the African get past the language barrier to understand the Mzungu, who is the only thing he can relate to, rely on for information about what's happening to the people that have been put on those ships? So I disagree, and you have to remember that they found that many of the Africans that were put on those ships were not just like you and me. I mean, common people. Some of them were architects, mathematicians, great people, even princes that were put into slavery, and they were not treated harshly the way they show on television. Those people were kept, and their skills were utilized to help build houses and do architecture and the like that. So George Washington Carver and these people that were slaves, they were kept for their brilliance. Remember, Henry Ford got the idea of the car plant from George Washington Carver.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. In fact,
The
I've heard that before.
upholstery for the cars was by him. You see, they had a long-standing relationship, but many people don't realize that he was born a slave, and he never got married, and he had a high-pitched voice. So these people were saying he was a homosexual, but he was not a homosexual. His masters castrated him so he wouldn't have sex with their daughters.
Right, I heard that.
If black Negroes could only just touch on their history and see the way we was really treated, you wouldn't believe a word this man says. I mean, nothing that the white man could tell you that you could. I mean, not all white people. Okay, some of you guys out there might get your feelings hurt, and I have some white friends, but nothing he could say that would that you could believe. You see, because it is inherent in them, and their history shows that fact. And we mass media is just the extension of what they love to do. It's just like women.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And somebody in the chat room is saying that and again, I have to agree, there were Africans who sold us out and sold other Africans for rum, rusty guns, and gold. I have to agree.
No.
Again, they might not have
rum.
exactly what's going on.
He might sell them for the glass bottle, but he ain't gonna sell it for no rum. The Africans' taste is very strict. They got a very strict. That's why it's very hard for McDonald's to come to Africa and these fast food.
Correct. I gotta agree. So Africans are selling other Africans for trinkets. I have to agree with that.
Trinkets.
Yeah.
I would say that they would give them. They would have like a line of Africans that would come up there, and the Mzungu probably sitting there made them believe that they were going to take them for a special ride, and that the king told all his subjects to come line up, and the white man could pick the ones he wanted, and the ones he picked, he'd give the king maybe some trinkets like that. But they never knew. The African never knew what horrors that the people he was putting on those ships were going to go through. He would have never agreed to it if he knew. He was tricked. Another trick. So he was lied to. There's no way. Mzungu gonna get there and say, "Can I say, King? You're my buddy. We've been doing business. So the king says, "What you gonna do with my people on this boat? We're gonna take them to that land. That we're gonna enslave them and make them work and torture them for the rest of their lives till they drop dead. We're gonna rip their children from them and displace their families and blah 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 blah." You know the story. You saw the movie Roots. So, and the king is gonna say what? "Oh, it's okay." Nothing like he was gonna say that. He was lied to, and this is the lies that America played then. This is the lies that keeps that people in power today.
All right, so let's continue. As far as guns, Uh, what I know we were going to speak on the gun laws a little bit in Africa or in Kenya. You being a civilian, can you go out and buy a gun or purchase some type of armed protection uh, in Mombasa?
You okay now? See, in that respect, I wanted to do some research on that because where I'm at now, I met this brother. He's we're always talking. He's always telling me there's gangs, there's this and that going on, and I'm like, where? I'm right. I've been living here for all these 8, 9 years in this area, and I never seen nothing like what he was saying. He's saying things like they come out the United States. So I agree that I'm a little bit older now, and I don't get out as much and run around up and down the road. But I got my hearing is still good. I don't hear no gunshots. You know, my eyes are still good. I can't never see where I was walking somewhere or came upon police cars standing in front of somebody's house and they pulling dead bodies out. I ain't never seen no yellow tape dead body here. So I wouldn't know. Now, they got some criminals, and some criminals have guns. Many people say that many of the criminals are ex-policemen and go around and they can shoot people. But it's extremely rare. It's extremely. I have no, in my mind, it's not something that I really worry about. And this goes along with when you leave the United States and you get peace of mind. It'll be a new feeling for you because you'll be experiencing it for the first time, where you can go around in the community and people are just not like that. There is no yelling and fighting. There is no, laws of no trespassing signs on the walls and high barbed wire fences. People just get along with each other. You can walk around where you please. People don't disturb each other. You see, there's nothing like that. Now, I live in Mombasa, and it's like the best holiday place in the country. And people in Nairobi might say differently, but I also lived in Nairobi and in the tough sections of town, and even there I didn't see it. And people packed together really tight there in some of the estates where I lived when I was
Well, and
first time.
I tell people this when when I travel to Africa and I stay in what's considered the hood, it's nowhere like South Central LA. I mean, it's the hoods that we're accustomed to. I mean, in fact, the hoods in Africa aren't really hoods. I mean, because there's no violence. I mean, you might have an occasional break in here and there, but it's nothing like what we've experienced here in America.
No, okay. It's part of our problem is that it's big business, political. It's politicized, and in Africa, it's a simple fact. Wherever you go, where you went, where you could, I'm sure somewhere within walking distance, there was a rich people's estate where where rich people live, and these people make these type of slums near these rich estates so that they can service them.
Right.
Kibera in Kenya is the second largest slum after what supposed slum after Soweto. Soweto is no longer a slum, but
Right.
slum, and it borders like three different Lovington. It borders I can't remember where I used to live, and those places all around it, and those people just they park there so they don't have to pay transportation costs, which is they can't afford, and they can just walk to work and do jobs for those rich people. And the system really works. Because I used to teach in Kibera, and the young men that took martial arts from me back in the '90s are, I mean, all of them basically I know of are of uh, out of Kibera, except for my number one black belt. He's still in Kibera, but he owns property. So
Uh-huh.
he owns property there, yeah. So he came to me taking Kimpo martial arts with me because somebody had stole his toolbox that he used to make furniture. So he said he just waited, and he became my assistant. Then he made a great living in teaching martial arts, and today he's got a family and he's well off. But yeah, no violence, no gun violence, especially.
Yeah, I mean, it was no gun violence. I mean, it wasn't. I felt, and I'm gonna tell you why. Um, the difference, and I did a video on it. It's the difference between, I guess, the American ghetto and the African ghetto. Number one, they have a code of conduct in Africa. Number two, they have culture, and number three, there's not a drug problem because everything in the hood in America is pretty much. I mean, you saw when you were in LA, the war on drugs and the crack cocaine hit. That's where shit really got violent and went south. In Africa, they don't have that. So I mean, you just might have poverty, but it's not the hood, meaning it's still it's safe. Because I walk when I was in when I'm Africa and I stayed in and I was in Ghana in Accra, I stayed in Mambobi and people were telling me that was a hood. I felt completely. I walked around at night. I felt completely safe. I was like, "What are you talking about?" It's just, I mean, it's not Beverly Hills, but I felt completely safe. And also too, people are busy. I mean, people are always working in the hood in Africa from day up to sundown, selling,
Yeah,
working in the markets. They're working, so they stay busy. So they're not occupied with participating in the bullshit because they got to feed their family.
yeah. I've been here 21 years. 21 years in Africa. I've been able to assess the problem. Not even a problem. I mean, it's not even that Africans are poor. It's just that in the big city, Africans that are in the rural areas, which is like 5 times the size of the city, 10 times the size of the city. So there's far more Africans and Kenyans, let's say, in the rural areas than are in the urban areas. But every season or so, every year, many young guys from the rural areas are attracted to the city. That's the same way everywhere. And where are they going to stay? Because they come from the farmland, they have nowhere else to go but into the slum areas. And they come, they find work, they work themselves up, and then they get a better job, and then they start a family. It's like that. That's all you see. This is all. It's like a transition, you know. And the ones that are hard working, they're the ones who will make it. And many of those people that come from the urban areas, you must work hard and you will succeed, and they believe that. There's also the tribal connection that they have to go. One is the firstborn, and he goes to the city and they buy seeds and whatever. Yeah, so it's like that. They have the things that keep them busy, and like you said, there are no drugs. And unfortunately, in the United States, like in Nicholas Gardens, these people the government is paying these people living expenses and food bill, and they have nothing on their hands but time. And the difference between the African slums and the slums in the United States is that the Africans are making a transition. They have goals, and you see, like you said, you see them busy working on those goals every day. And in America, there's no real hope, because if you're not well educated, there's less jobs. And I'm sure it was very horrible in the '90s when all of the jobs were going overseas,
Right.
factory jobs and what. We can't even, you just got to go into history. I mean, you have to remember the big fight and racial conflicts they had in Philadelphia and places like that, where the white unions, forced all the blacks, out of those those factory jobs. Same thing happened decades before that, after slavery was ended during the Depression. Whites had no skills. They found themselves at the bottom of the ladder with the blacks, and the blacks had skills, and they knew they had strong work ethic. Whites didn't have that,
Right.
and so they started hiring blacks, because they would work for less and they were harder working. Then after a while, the whites got tired, started using guns and things like that, and then forced them out of those unions to take those jobs. this is what America has done for you. And if you do the research, you'll see it. And the whole purpose of the whole purpose of this podcast is to talk about the lies that they tell in order to continue to control us.
Mm.
I mean, if you have to look at the essence of a lie, look at the essence of a lie, and then you can see what is really in the mind of the person who's telling that lie. If they're going to keep things from us that will show that we were great people, the essence of the lie can make you determine this. It's simple math. Make you determine what is really their agenda. And when people lie, everybody that lies usually has an agenda.
Right.
And so you can look at that agenda and see where they are. So now when you look at the agenda going way back from slavery days, Africans sold Africans into slavery, you can see the agenda that they had way back then. You should remain in the United States. You see? Because
I'm not gonna allow that. I mean, some people who leverage that as an excuse to go to Africa aren't serious about it anyway. So we don't need them anyway. But I definitely want to allow something like that to keep me from looking at Africa.
Yeah, but see, they're Negroes. They're Negroes that they need to believe the lie, and then Negroes will be the ones that will spread the lie so that other people won't get a chance to go. You see,
right?
You try to convince other people to the same lie. This is Negroes. Now, I can come here and I can come back and relate to the audience and to the people in the chat room. If you're gonna have a lie, let's say you're in your late 20s, early 30s, or even in your 40s, look at your life and reassess it, and move to Africa because it's safer, it's better, it's healthier. The weather is much better. People are more friendly. You got more opportunities for work in Africa. And you can look at me and you can hear me, but somebody has lied to you over and over and over again, no matter the lie. And I repeat, no matter the lie, because it's been repeated to you over and over and over again, your mind is going to work in that realm of you need to be told this thing over and over again before you believe it. But there's a resistance. You know how somebody can tell you something and you don't want to believe it? Imagine your mind does not want to believe it. This is your mind. My mind refuses to believe that. This is your mind. The fight is not against the information. This is why I'm saying forget about the statistics. You see what's going on, but your mind is your worst enemy here because you've allowed it, or they have overcome your ability to disseminate the information, and then it's in you. I better stay. I better stay here. I better stay here in the United States. And then there we go. You see, it's like I'm saying, and I say they have this practice so that I mean you can pick almost any topic. 9/11 is almost any topic, and it's a lie. It's the foundation of it, a lie. I mean, goodness gracious, people, Jesus Christ! Oh, come on. 9/11, building number 7. Come on, it's you know, but you don't see yourself as tied to generations. You see, there's a generation that you're producing that come after you, and you got that mindset, and then you pass that on to the next generation and your children, and just the way it was passed on to you. Go back, look at your parents. And it's not only the information that they told you, but it's also the information that they didn't tell you. They couldn't tell you. And you're the product of your environment. Just like that.
Real quick, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Please get the likes up. So as you enter the chat room, please hit the likes, hit the like button. Also, those who super chat, Melissa, please email me your address, Melissa, and there was another brother who super chatted earlier. Hold on, let me get him real quick. Laugh a lot. Also, there was one more brother. Hold on, let me get up to him. I can't see him, but if you super chatted, please email me your physical address so I can send you a postcard. Either you get one with me with the King of Balada or me with the Ashanti Royal Guard. So, oh, and the question was real quick, and this is a little bit off topic, but someone who's interested in relocating to, we'll say Kenya with minimal resources, what would be your advice to that? For that,
Repeat that again for me.
somebody who's interested in relocating to Kenya with minimal resources, meaning no money, what would be your advice for that?
Okay, I'm going to give you some advice that may be a bit contradictory towards what you may think. And it's basically all the things I give in this video is a bit controversial. I understand that people don't want to believe it.
Go ahead.
But if you have the right mindset, you can make it. If you, I mean, I came basically with almost no money, and I didn't come here to teach martial arts. I just saw that it was an opportunity that people wanted to learn, and then it just created itself into a market. You understand? When I started teaching, dealing with digital education, it's just an open market. I mean, schools are here. The government has even given the schools laptops and computers, and the schools knew nothing, didn't have people to run them, let alone entrepreneurs like myself to come up with great creative ideas. Can you imagine that 22,000 primary schools, and they're all giving 3 exams per term, 3 terms a year, and they're all based on paper. So every student has to have a paper exam in his hand 3 times a term, 3 times once a month, and that's over 1 million students. And that's not counting. That's only counting the last, I mean, class 8, not counting class 7, 6, 5, which also take these same exams. I introduced the fact that you can do an exam on a tablet. There's a computer program, and people didn't know this. People didn't realize it. Now I had to make it the dream come true, and then I made it a reality and showed them. Go to my Black Man's Guide or my Cheesecake channel, you can see. And you know, the potential for this is enormous, because now the computer lab is functioning at the school. Teachers are coming here and utilize the facilities, because I kept telling them, yes, you can do this. Yes, you can do. They come with ideas. You see, so in Africa, there's so many opportunities. You know, there's so many opportunities. If you come, you should not go hungry. The people will not allow that. You understand? Black people in the South, you aren't going to let you live out on the street. That's impossible. So let's say you fall on hard times and you don't have your base income is not there. People are going to help you get another base income, but you got to be able to understand it and see, like, okay, let me help. You know, let me.
Rahh, how long did it take for you to get
Let me
stable
black people.
once you relocated to Kenya?
Stable. Okay, I would say like maybe 4 months.
Okay.
Because let me, my case was not no bed of roses. I came here with my African girlfriend, and she said we could stay on her family's farm. And when I got there 2 weeks later, the mom came and told me to get off the farm, and I'm like, where am I going to go?
Are you serious?
So yeah, I was kicked out. And my girl was pregnant. I said, now what you gonna do? Are you gonna stay with your mother on the farm? And she said, no, I'm going with you. And I was like, wow, okay. So we called her auntie and to stay with her auntie. And auntie said, yes, you can come. So we came with all our bags from the US. I came with all my bags from the US and knocking on this woman's door. They're not home. So we asking the neighbors. And the neighbors are saying they never leave. They're always home at this time. So I'm seeing people move into the curtain, and I'm looking inside, and I'm like, what's going on? So a neighbor came walking up and said, you can stay at our house until they come, wherever they went.
Okay.
all knew that they were inside hiding. So we're sitting there in this neighbor's house. You know, this lady, she had two daughters, and we're all crunched up in her little one bedroom apartment. And she said you can stay as long as you need to. And I was like, man, wow, this is cool. I'm trying to catch my breath, And conversation with the lady, she comes to realize that her son was in the U.S. And I had actually helped her son when he was at the airport because no one would pick him up at the airport in the U.S. So I was like, what happened to that guy? I was talking when I was in the U.S. I was like, what happened to that guy that came in the other day at the airport? Did someone go pick him? And they said no. And I was like, what? And so I drove to LAX and we found that guy and I took him to somewhere. He was running around the airport for 3 days, hide from the airport police. And it was this woman's son who who came to ask for, came to our rescue. So ain't no way in the world if you're going to go to Africa that you're going to have something where you're going to sleep out on the street. No one's going to let you do that, And once I had not decided to stay in Africa at that time. I was like, on a fact finding mission for 3 months. But when I decided, my mentality changed and opportunities just opened up. I had a house in a brand new. I rented an apartment in a brand new estate. I bought a car. See, so it was like, it's like that. So, the regular problems that we normally have in life, I had them, and they, I didn't have the government interference that I had in the United States, and everything worked out, because I was a reasonable person. And I didn't want to hurt nobody, and I have a clean heart, so it all came back to me. It all came back to support me. And like I said, I know more people than most people because I trained in martial arts, and then I ended up at Nairobi University, the largest university in the country, and was teaching there, and had a full house of some of the smartest brains in the country. I was teaching doctors, lawyers, martial arts, and they all remembered me. So to this day, and I don't see anybody who comes here with a mindset of making an honest living and not making it. So many brothers that I know have come, I've met, and they were here, and once they saw the women that was in skirts left and right, and there's that element of women in the African country and any countries, and especially in any tourist town, that they make themselves so beautiful and so attractive that you can get caught up with them, almost to the point where you want to marry them. Get all the way up to that point, and they tell you, no, I don't want, I would love you, but I want marry you. And that's many guys have fallen into that trap. I'm not one of them. They fell into that trap, and I could just watch them shake my head. Most of the people that I'm friends with here that are from America are retirees, and now that's the best way to be. Some disability.
You brought up a good point. Retirees. I met a lot of Black Americans who relocated to Africa, and I would say they're mid 40s to early 50s, and they're wishing that they would have done it sooner. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on that, and did you feel like that as well? Because I know you decided to move in '86, but you didn't make the move until '96. Do you regret not doing it sooner? Hello? Damn, we lost the brother. He has a frozen screen. Everybody, hopefully, I hope you guys are enjoying this.
Came
Oh, okay. Are you there? Okay. Did you hear my question?
No.
I'm wrong.
Say again. Repeat it.
Okay. The question is, I run into a number of, I would say, Black Americans who are in their mid 40s to early 50s who relocated to Africa, but regret or wish that they would have done it sooner. I know you decided to move in 86, but you didn't make the move till 96, 97. Do you regret not moving sooner?
Okay, I think you were breaking up a bit, but if you were saying, do I regret? And I'm saying, yes, I regret it that I didn't come earlier. If I would have known, I would have, I would have, I would have come earlier. But I had only the encyclopedia to go by.
Okay.
You can imagine, yeah, those days. So I was trying to pick between Lagos and and Johannesburg,
Okay.
and I was lucky to get some information on them and see that that wasn't the right place. And then that's when I discovered Kenya, and that's how I just said, okay, I'm gonna go to Kenya. You have to adopt the African country and just stick with it. Get friends from that African country. It's so simple. And then once you get friends from that African country, you're okay. You get you some decent friends that some people that are native there that have families. You'll be okay. You can't lose. So many Africans, they live in the city and they have so much land that you would be surprised. They have land up country. They have relatives all over the place. You can't not be put on the street unless that's your job. There's everywhere you go, there's these certain beggars that that's their job. They sleep on the street. They wear dirty clothes so they can get money out of you, and then at the end of the night, they're driving home. You wouldn't even know it.
Hey, would you advise someone to relocate to Africa and look for a job?
No, the problem here is, and I have really met no one, no African American that's come here who hasn't had that thing of uh, Africa is beneath me. You know, like that guy I told you came to where I stay, and there was an and we wanted the chips. And when we got the fish and chips and we went into the open air, flies flying around, and he was like, "I can't eat here because there are flies." Okay, shit. Give me your food then. That's what I told him. And you have to acclimate yourself. I mean, I'm sure. Even I took the guy around. He saw the way I was living, and I'm sure he thought like, oh, this guy is really an African. Because like I can use the local transport, but he had to take a taxi everywhere. So this kind of mentality is not going to help you. If you're moving away from the United States with all the things that are there, you have to realize that that's a big facade. Like the guy in the chat room talking about he's from France, and he was told that most people don't have toilets. It's a different culture, you know. And where I'm from, everybody I see has toilets. So I don't know, but this is the mentality. It's like you're going to be beneath you. It's beneath you to come live in Africa because you got to take a drop. And actually, what you're doing is you're readjusting your economic status to where it's supposed to be when you don't have credit debt, you know, and you get anybody's wealth status. If you want to live in the high-rise areas, they're there. If you want to live in like me, I'm living in the lower middle income area. It's there. I have a lower income status mindset that keeps money in my pocket. I don't have to spend it on bling bling or trying to keep up with the Joneses or look like I got something that I don't have. That's ridiculous. That's a capitalistic mindset. When you walk around here, you'll see people that don't care about that, and you shouldn't either. If you're living in a warm place, got access to all the things that you need, you have great weather, great friends, great diet, many beautiful locations. Yeah, what else do you need to have peace of mind? Surely. Mm-hmm. If they want to ask me something, let me ask me, how about the television? Okay, all the movies are here. I just watched Jumanji, yeah, and I'm about to watch Black Panther, get Black Panther. All the movies are here. They have cable TV, got hundreds of channels, CNN, all of the basic cable channels are here. But there are many video stores here that are not privy to right in the United States, are not here, so you can get a wide variety of entertainment for your big screen TVs, which most people here have that I know. I got a one that's like about kind of big, but not so big, But it's the lifestyle. The lifestyles are there for you to choose from. I came here and I lived in a high lifestyle in Yale, which is like a Beverly Hills type of area.
Uh-huh.
And I there for 5 years, and I hated it because there was nobody walking around on the street at night, and there was no, people were not talking to each other. Neighbors were not talking. And I decided to move to an area where it was crowded full of Africans, and I loved it. I loved it. I love walking outside, seeing excitement going around, people moving back and forth. I like that. The nightlife is hot. Everywhere you go, there's
Hold on, hold on 1 second, there, Moran. Not to cut you off, guys. We've addressed the whole employment in Africa question about 10 times, and again, there's videos on that I've done. But I would not suggest relocating to Africa looking for a job. You have to come with an entrepreneurial spirit, and I'm guessing Grandmaster agrees with me on that as well.
okay.
But we've already
Yes,
covered it. But go ahead.
yeah, there's looking for a job, even in the United States. Come on, there's too many people. Pat Valuetainment, all these guys, they're telling you it's easy, better to be an entrepreneur than somebody that wants to work. And if you want a job and you don't care what job you get, then you'll find that job here. You'll be labor intensive jobs. Africa is growing, so construction jobs is going to be there, but you're not going to get no wages like you think you would get in the United States because the people don't live like that. And that's coming from coming to movies. And if a lot of African Americans would be honest, they don't live like that either. You're living from paycheck to paycheck. So it would behoove you with coming from America, if you got skills in almost any kind of area, the African is not going to allow you to work. He's going to look at you and expect you to work miracles because you're coming from a first world country. He's going to look at you and expect you to know things and make money for them and help them with your skills that you got coming from a first world country. This is the mindset of the African. That's how they're going to judge you when you first come here. It's up to you to take that opportunity to make it or not. So I definitely come with an entrepreneurial spirit, and you'll go a lot further than if you come looking for a job. If you're looking for a job, uh, you'll find it here. You'll get peace of mind, but you will not be driving on the streets of Nairobi or Mombasa because you won't make that kind of money.
Hmm. I mean, what we'll do, Amenkrahh, we'll go ahead and we'll go ahead and close out. I mean, what's anything else you wanna share in closing? Any other again, we're talking on uh the lies America has told us about Africa. Like anything else you want to share on that?
Yeah, I think the whole problem that we have is that we've been lied to. We've been lied to, lied to, lied to. And we believe the lies, or they're so entrenched in us that we are somehow unable to get out of those lies and come and pull away from them. How many times have we been here and we just said that Africa is a great place? People still talking about trying to convince you in the chat room that the place is not great. When all it would take for them is to come here. They can't come here because they know that there's a fear that it might change their perception, and that would make what they've been told a lie, and they fear that. So it's all a mentality, and each person out there has to deal with that thing on their own accord. If you're gonna stay in America, okay, stay there. But you don't have a right to talk shit about the United States. I mean, about Africa if you've never been here to see for yourself. How many people gonna come here and challenge me, telling me what I'm saying is not true, and I'm here? And last I heard, that, I mean, that is not paying me to come and tell you. So you can come in and then you can keyboard and twist and change the facts. No facts. You're just gonna continue down the line of your belief. And thank goodness they haven't changed that. You have that right to do that, whether you're in Africa or whether you're in the United States. Some people that are out there, black people that are skilled, and they have tried. They see their relationships have failed. They see that they no matter what happens, they're finding themselves in debt. They keep trying to get chances to move ahead, but they keep saying that there's going to be somebody that's non-black holding all the economic cards, and they get tired of having to compete or even be rejected in those areas. Those many people that have been out there, you then all of a sudden something happened to the job, and you don't know why you was let go from the job. You know, you're in denial because you don't see that there is a construct put together to say black people we will not allow black people to go so far high. Who has no real skills, fine. But there are black people that are out there. You got skills. You might have got a good job somewhere with some skills, and those skills are very valuable if you use them in Africa. Africa is growing. Like we talked about the trade agreement between the 44 African nations is
Right.
historical. And if it goes through the way it's going to go through, it's going to be amazing. They're predicting double growth in Africa in the next coming years just because of this trade agreement. Now, Nigeria didn't sign up for the agreement because they were told, the stakeholders said that they were not told to about it before it was brought up. So they forced the president not to sign it. Signed in January another agreement, which was a free air agreement where 20 African countries signed a pact that they could in different airspaces without being tariffed. So Nigeria did connect with that one, and when Nigeria signs on to this free trade agreement, it's going to mean great things are going to happen in Africa because nations can trade between each other as opposed to being independent, like the way independent nations where Europeans can just come in and pick you apart and exploit the resources. They won't be able to do that the way going, and this shows the mindset of the African, which way they're going. So when people want to still talk about Africa in the jungle way back in the past, modern Africa is moving and booming, and it's going to be moving and booming for the next 50 years, according to the U.S. Economy magazine. So this doesn't make any sense for you to struggle in that country and give Africa a serious looking into. So
A couple more questions, Amara, I promise. And then we'll. In fact, I'm gonna ask all these questions right now, and these are the last three questions, and then we could go ahead and close. Um, do you know that? So, question number one: do you know that it was an African American that drafted the Kenyan Constitution? That's question number one. Question number two: a truck driver wants to know: would you recommend, or do you think is a good idea for him to relocate his equipment to Africa if he were to start a truck driving business in Africa? And then Brother Y'all wants to know, do you think America will make it difficult for retirees and pensioners to take their money out of America?
Okay, question number one. African American created the Kenyan Constitution. Okay, so what are you saying? I was there when they were meeting at Bombers of Kenya. I was there when they were making the Constitution. That's a big fat lie. That shit was on TV. And they fought over making that Constitution, the Kenyans themselves. So what is your real mental point on saying that what are you saying, Africans are too dumb to make a Constitution? Somebody need to re-educate you, buddy. Last I checked, the African removed the European out of their countries, and they're running their own countries. They have their own governments. Does the black people have their own governments? They're running their own industries. Black people running industries. They have their own standing military, and they're running the military. Africans are doing that. Get out of the mindset that the Africans are some sort of stupid people. They are way ahead of them. They own countries. And last I checked, African Americans are still in the same point they were in the 1800s, according to Dr. Claude Anderson. So I don't get your point. Now, question number two: truck drivers. No, that's bad. far as I can see, Kenya has just opened up its first high-speed railway. I'm meeting with people that are working at the port of Mombasa, where they're telling the government has forced the people that own containers in Nairobi, where most of these goods are transported, not to use trucks and to use the high-speed railway, because people were trying to be reluctant. People were reluctant to do that because people were used to trucks. But the whole purpose of the high-speed railway is to remove trucks from the highway, because it was during the holidays, trucks were causing great traffic jams on that road between Nairobi and Mombasa. People were being killed in road accidents, and the high-speed railway was supposed to eliminate all that, and it's doing that. So as far as trucking is concerned, in Kenya and Tanzania also is building their own high-speed railway. Uganda is connecting with Kenya. It's business, but not like it used to be. And what was the last question about
What was y'all's question? Pensions,
retirees?
the pensions. Will America make it harder for pensions people to, I guess, use or spend their pensions outside of America?
Okay, as you know, I think that as you know, you can see already that people's pensions are being messed with by the government in different ways. 4K1 plans, but now imagine if you were getting a monthly check of $600. Let's say you'd be a million king in Kenya right now. $600 a month. I can show you where you can get a beautiful house, get you a servant that's going to live with you in your house and cook for you, wash your clothes, do everything for you. Yeah, you can live like a king, far better than you can if you was in the United States. And I can attest that because I have Black American retirees that I know very close with, and that's what they're doing. And so if you're making more than $600 a month, trust me, you should do what so many whites are doing from Europe and the United States. They're moving to an African country for the weather and for the food, the natural food, and for their health. So it would anybody that's dealing got a monthly check coming in, and anybody that has their own business, and they can make that business run without them, they and get that money transferred over to here. It's better. Now banks and banks are all in line with that because whites are here, pensioners are here, so they used to the banks got to play ball. Visa, Mastercard, Bancard International. Now you can go to any ready mobile money cash machine and get money like that. And in Kenya, they have M-Pesa, where your phone is your bank. So it's really convenient for you to get money, as far as getting the money out to use it in this country. And as far as I know, there's no real problem there as far as pension.
Okay.
People stopping you from getting your pension.
Okay, I promise this is the last question. And you don't have to spend a lot of time on it. Let's talk about roads. How are the roads in America compared to the roads in Africa, in Kenya?
Kenya is industrializing. So I take my Bamburi for instance. Okay, you had the main road that was there, and then on the side roads were mostly many of them were dirt roads. Today, I'm happy to say all the roads are paved all the way up to my house. My house used to be a dirt road, somehow a dirt road, and now it's all paved. I look at it and I be like, I can't remember when it wasn't paved. You see, so paved roads are there. And you have to remember, like in the Wild Wild West, if anybody has seen a Western movie, you don't see paved roads in a Western movie because the towns are developed first, and then they build the roads last. And it's the same thing here. They're building these buildings, and then they have to have access, so they didn't put the roads in last after they put in the drainage and everything like that. So this can take years in some cases, depending on what type of buildings are coming up, what type of electricity standards are needed, this and that. But the government is definitely, and Kenya has definitely had assignment to build roads. They're building cobblestone roads. The ones like in Europe where you have the little sectional bricks. Well, those are that last forever. Yeah, this is what they have now put in. All through here where I stay in Kenya, in Nairobi. I go there once a month, and go to the hood where I used to go, and it's all paid. So this issue of roads is a political issue, and not to go by that. Should not go by that. Hmm.
All
Roads
right,
are
family,
there.
we'll go ahead and close out. Hey, if people, Grandmaster, if people want to get in contact with you, please give them your contact information.
Okay, me, I'm located in Facebook, basically only. So you go to Black Man's Guide to Move into Africa, or you search Black Man's Guide Moving to Africa, you get our Black Man's Guide group. I don't carry many friends on new friends on people I don't know on Facebook, but if you send me a message or something that you want to be connected to the group, I'll be glad. I'll be happy to connect you to that. Just come there, like and subscribe. When you get there, please like and subscribe. Like the articles that you see, so we can know which type of articles people want to hear. We give a lot of information about Africa, a lot of information about the United States, and everybody is not welcome in the group like that, but only the serious ones is the ones we want to let. So I screen everybody that comes. So those people that are spamming, I'll be watching you.
All right, everyone. Grandmaster, as always, thank you so much for coming on. Everybody, please, if you're new to this platform, please like the video, share the videos, and also please subscribe. Also go to search for Huru on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Also go to search for Huru.com. Go to Amazon.com, search your name, Dynasty Mirror, please buy a book. And also go to DynastyMirror.com as well. Everyone, thank you so much for coming on. I will be back on later on today again. So everyone, thank you so much. Till next time, peace.